Welcome back, Shalloners. Well, you guys voted on my Instagram page, ShallonXO, follow along, for this topic, and today we're going to talk about Halsey's new Insta official relationship with Evan Peters. And not just that, we're going to talk about some dirt with her and G-Eazy, because I heard some things. We're going to talk about some dirt with her and Youngblood, because I heard some things. And more importantly, we're going to talk about what we can learn from this. Basically, a question I get from you guys all the time is, how do I know when it's right to move on and start dating after a bad breakup? Am I going too fast? Am I going too slow? Am I over it? Am I not? We'll break it all down. But first, just want to remind you guys that if you want to talk to me one-on-one and have a private session about any little love question or thing going on in your life, find me on my website, shallonlester.com. Also, head over there to shop my new merchandise line. Ooh, ooh. And like I said, follow me on Instagram at ShallonXO, where I let you in on the next video topic and connect with me that way. And be sure to listen to my podcast, Girl on Top, out every Wednesday, every place podcasts are found. So Halsey, okay, we gotta go back. So Halsey and G-Eazy, I love young Gerald. I love him. They dated like a year or so ago. They broke up. They got back together. Then he cheated on her a bunch because no shit, Ashley, he's a rapper. It always blows my mind. It's like Kylie Jenner shocked. Like, you know, Khloe Kardashian shocked that an athlete cheated on her. It's like, yes. A phrase that I heard that really resonated with me is that a man is only as faithful as his options. Ooh. And if you're like in your 20s, you know, you're not like 70 and a touring musician, you're young, you're good looking, you're rich, and girls throw themselves at you, it's going to be really hard to resist that, like, you know, late night tour bus blowjob. And we know that it does, like, that all of these guys have options because girls throw themselves at Post Malone, who I love. I love Posty. We must protect him at all costs, but I would not fuck Post Malone. Okay? No matter how famous. And I'm like a pro hoe. Like, if I see a guy's famous or he's on stage, he's got that like magnetism, I'm like, I don't even go see plays for this reason, because I always end up like falling in love with one of the actors. I'm like, this is like a Palm Beach County Community Theater playhouse. What am I doing waiting by the stage door? So like, I can't handle this. And I still wouldn't go for Posty. Love him though. So like, yes, Ashley, that's Halsey's real name, by the way, Ashley. It's like, no shit, G-Eazy cheated on you. And I think it messed her up because they did a song together. Cannot tell you what a jinx that is, Ash. Huge jinx. And yet you went ahead and did it again with Youngblood. Like, okay. But she was really messed up about that. And they were talking very future forecasting. When they would talk about each other, her and G-Eazy, it was like, this is my person, this is my true love, there's a version of him that goes with every version of me. And I was like, oh, like, I like them together a lot. She seems like she's a bit of a handful. I like her, and she's, to me, like kind of a feminist badass icon. I think she's awesome, but she is a lot to deal with. And so when her and G-Eazy finally split up, I know she was like very public about it in the song, like, you know, whatever fucking was. And then she went on SNL and had the whole like background of her stage be like his letters to her, I'm sorry, Ashley, and then a list of all the cities in which he cheated on her. I was like, okay, this tells me you're not over it, right? Because the opposite of love is what? Not hate, it's apathy. Apathy. And going on SNL and using that awesome opportunity to make it all about your ex, that's not apathy. That's you being all up in it still. And so it was weird to me that she got together with Youngblood so soon after that. And they got together in January. And I think I did a video on Youngblood and Halsey and like whether or not you would date or would want to date, like the pros and cons of dating a guy who's sexually fluid. And I think it's very interesting that she chose a guy who is more feminine sometimes, because I feel like that means she got to exert more power. Do you know what I mean? When you get cheated on, you feel powerless. You feel humiliated. You feel bamboozled. You feel like everything you knew was a lie. And that every happy memory you had is actually like laughing at you. It's really hard. It's really, really hard. And I don't think it's a coincidence that she gravitated towards a guy who was more submissive, you know, at times. Spoiler alert, though, he was cheating on her like a crazy person and she was trying to get pregnant. That's what I've heard. Maybe that's true, maybe not. But apparently she saw the writing on the wall at some point because she like dumped him allegedly out of the blue. I mean, now wait. If someone cheats on you and you find out, you aren't dumping them. You're just not. The relationship is ending. You are getting emotionally like dumped though. Even if you're the one to walk away, like it's not, you know, like it's a win. I chose this. You're like, no, girl, I'm fucking miserable. I didn't choose that. So if she found out that Youngblood was like horn dogging around, whatever. So they ended in September. It is beep, bop, boop, the end of October. And Halsey is already on red carpets with Evan Peters. They've been to like Magic Mountain or whatever together. And she has him as her lock screen. Yep. Like booth pictures, you know, like photo booth strip photos. Like that's her lock screen, her and Evan Peters. I dated my boyfriend for 2 years and he made my lock screen only like the last month we were together. We are not together anymore. I don't know, guys. Maybe I'll do a video on it. It's just a lot. It's a lot to process. But that's kind of why I'm like thinking about this topic. Like, when do you start to move on? And when do you like, I don't know, maybe we'll get back together. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot. Anyway, we'll probably get back together. I just need a break. Like, I need a break from the drama of him for a while, very long while. I don't know how long. Anyway, probably should edit this out, but I won't. Anyway, so yeah, it gets me to thinking about these things. It's like, well, how long is too long to wait? How quick is too quick? I think Halsey's moving a little fast with Evan, and I like Evan Peters. But again, I think it's a very interesting dynamic because the last time we talked about Evan Peters, it was about his super toxic, like physically abusive relationship with Emma Roberts. And he was the victim. I mean, he was the victim insofar that we know because like he called the cops on her for beating him up. That's not good. And I mean, who knows? Maybe that was a two-way abusive relationship. I hope not. I hope not. So yeah, that's terrible. But like, he seems like kind of a broken bird to me. Like Emma Roberts, I have heard really sort of intense things about that. She's like very domineering. She's just kind of a bitch. She's kind of a bitch, you know, whatever. And he seems like kind of a beta male. So again, I think it's interesting Halsey is choosing guys who maybe are a little bit more like subservient. And she's going like one to the next to the next. And that tells me she's not over G-Eazy. She's not over it. Do you know what else I know that tells me she's not over it? I mean, I don't know this, but I've heard this. That during Fashion Week, which is in September in New York City, New York Fashion Week, her and G-Eazy ran into each other backstage. It was either a show or an event or like an after party and came to like physical blows. Like she physically attacked him. You know, he was probably like this. Like I don't think he attacked her. That doesn't seem like in his nature, but I kind of see her like coming at someone like with those windmill arms, like on the playground, like, you know, like those little tiny windmill arms. If you are physically attacking your ex, you are not over it. You are not over it. If you're attacking them on Instagram, not over it. If you're sending drunken, insane text messages, not over it. So she's not over G-Eazy. And she's monkey vining from one guy to the next who are, for one reason or another, a little bit more on the submissive side. That to me tells me she's trying to get her power back and even those scales because she doesn't feel whole and complete on her own. Because when we think about monkey vining, when you won't let go of one branch until you get a grip on the next, why? Let's look at why a monkey does that. Because if they don't get a hold on something, what happens? They're in a free fall, right? They're plummeting down. And some people feel like that emotionally. I just talked about this on my podcast actually today. Check it out, Girl on Top. And we feel like that too. It's like if Halsey might feel like if she doesn't have a guy, she's in this sort of emotional free fall. And I think that's G-Eazy based. Because I don't know that she's like, well, I don't know. Maybe she is the kind of girl who chronically needs a man. She seems like she has a high chaos need and a high chaos tolerance. Like that's an actual thing. Like it's an actual metric where she needs a lot of stimulation and a lot of drama. She's also young. She's like 24, which for some of you that might seem old. For me, it seems really young because I look at when I was 24 and I needed all the drama. all the drama. I wanted fights and I wanted makeup sex. And like, I was not in a place for like, I want a stable, happy relationship or making pancakes. I said that I did. And I was not being truthful because the evidence pointed to the contrary. I was always gravitating towards dramatic situations, you know? So I could say whatever I want, but my actions spoke louder. And Halsey's might also. Now, I hope her and Evan Peters are like a cute, adorable couple. Kind of don't think they're going to last. They seem like a really weird match to me, but whatever. The hell do I know? So what can we learn from this? How do you know when you're ready to move on? Like I said, I'm going through this too, and it's tough. Like on one hand, you know, your friends are like, get back out there. You fall off a man. It's like a horse. You get right back on, you know? And you're like, yeah. But I know that in my life, I have done something that I call wallpapering, where I don't know if you've ever tried to remove wallpaper or heard someone tell a story about how they tried. It's very difficult. And a lot of times people are like, fuck it. And they just slap new wallpaper on over the old one. Whatever. Like, because it's easier. And so I've done that in my relationships. You know, I've gotten out of things, not dealt with the fallout. And like, it's like a landfill, you know, over time, it sort of like biodegrades and turns to like the sludge. But it takes a really long time and there's always still something there. And now, for the first time in my life, I'm not excited to be single. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe I am. It's just a lot to process. And I'm trying to like focus on that process versus like, get right back out there. Because first of all, that's not nice to do to other people. We don't like to date guys who aren't over their ex or aren't over the breakup, right? So maybe we should be the change in the world we want to see. And also, yeah, like the wallpapering, it's like, I don't need to add more problems to the problems I already have. I don't need to add more feelings to the feelings I already have. So I think it's important to sit with yourself and be like, am I monkey vining? If I log out of the apps, if I stay home from the bars for a week, how do I feel? Do I feel like I am in an emotional free fall? Because if the answer is yes, you're not ready to move on. You're not ready to move on. And Khloe Kardashian, I'm going to quote her in a wise way right now, did this podcast recently, and it was so interesting. Let me see. You know what? Let me see if I can find it. Okay. So she did this podcast on the Say Bible podcast, and she talked about invalidating other people's feelings. And I want you to listen to this.
I hate when other people who have not been through the trauma you have been through, any of us, because we've all gone through traumas, they want to tell you when to stop hurting. And that's not anybody's place to tell you when to stop hurting. And everybody has a different lifespan of pain, I think. Everybody will deal with things in different, what might be traumatizing to me might be nothing to you, and vice versa. We can't invalidate people's feelings. That's only going to traumatize them more. And also shame them. I'm so over like the emotional shaming of what people do to other people. People can have their feelings and do what they want, as long as they're realistic. You also have to step outside of your own self and be self-aware and say, okay, am I completely delusional? Am I making these? Because you could also, your mind, you can play tricks on, and you could start creating a false reality. As long as you're being, I think, really authentic.
Oh, right? Okay, so yeah, Khloe isn't usually our like touchstone of wisdom, but you know what though? She is, and that's what people, I think that's why we get frustrated with Khloe and her decisions, because it's like you hear her talk and you're like, yes, you are as wise as Shallon Lester. Yes. And then we see her choices and we're like, oh God, you're as dumb as Trisha Paytas, you know? So it's hard to like watch her like be so smart and then make choices that don't necessarily align with that. But I really liked what she said about the lifespan of pain, because what have we talked about on here before? This wine is really good. It's from a box. I am what I am. Black box wine. It's the Malbec. I always put like an ice cube in my wine because I like it just a little cold, because I'm tacky. I'm from Orange County, California. Die mad about it. So Khloe talks about the lifespan of pain. And it's so true because, yes, what we talk about here is like time heals nothing. Time heals nothing. Time changes nothing. It's what you do with that time that matters. So if you're logging out of the apps, if you're staying home from the bars and you're just sitting here like stewing and festering and stalking your ex, girl, you might as well be out, because at least then you're moving forward and not backward. So the lifespan of pain really circles back to that. Like, if you don't do the work in that time, your lifespan of pain is going to be a lot longer, right? You're just going to be spinning your wheels and stuck in neutral. And like she said, for some of us, something's no big deal and you brush it off. For others, it's like, oh, it's a fact that it is harder to get over someone you never dated than get over like a 3-year relationship, because there's no data for someone you never dated. 3-year relationship, you can be like, oh, I know what he does wrong. Bop, 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 bop. And you feel like you've explored it fully and you've gone back and forth in your mind. Someone you haven't really dated, or it never really got off the ground that much, it exists purely in fantasy. And how do you get over a fantasy, you know? And so cheating kind of goes to that, because you realize your relationship might have been a fantasy. Did he love me? Was every single thing he said to me just a lie until he left? To quote Mayday Parade, our generation's greatest philosophers. So in a way, Halsey could be stuck in that sort of like fantasy loop about her relationship with G-Eazy. Like, what was it? What was this relationship comprised of? And so you need to look at your breakup and be like, again, if I don't have this, if I don't go out and fill my life with other noise and chaos, how do I feel? Is it impossible for me to sit with myself? And sometimes we don't want to sit with ourselves because it's boring. A little of me goes a real long way. And I'm an only child and I love to be alone. Like, I actually need a lot of alone time. But other times it's like, okay, yeah, I would like to go out and like be around human males, get a skinny margarita, whatever, spicy. And like, I don't want to just put myself on the shelf just for the arbitrary like mourning period of a relationship. So sit and think about how you feel when you're alone. Also, sit and think how you feel when you're drunk. Because if when you're drunk, you want to subtweet something stupid on Instagram, you want to drunk dial someone, you want to lash out at their new girlfriend. And I'm not saying you have to reach perfect 0-point apathy. That's almost impossible with our exes. I mean, at least it is for me. When I love someone, I love them. That goes on forever. It like never changes. So it's like, I don't ever want to see them pop up in my feed with someone else. I don't ever want to see them being happy without me. I don't people like, I just want you to be happy even if it's not with me. Well, I don't. No. You've tasted this. What future of happiness is there for you, right? So going back to the lifespan of pain, don't let anyone push you out there too soon or keep you in too soon. You really have to sit with yourself and understand where you're at. And there's no right or wrong answer. Sometimes you get out of something heavy and it's like, I am ready to go. I'm ready to run. And that's fine. But it can't hurt to err on the side of like going a little slow. And that's what's concerning about Halsey and Evan Peters. It's like, it's not like, oh, they're just kind of dating. They're talking like lock screen status. Lock screen. That is like bigger than Instagram official, if you ask me. I look at my phone lock screen way more than I look at my Instagram. That's a big deal. So I think she's like doing, oh, you know what she's doing? The boyfriend equivalency exam. This is what I call it when people get out of a super long-term relationship. And you end a relationship on like a 9, right? The sweatpants, crying over your work drama, whatever stage where it's like, you're here. And people want to take the equivalency. They don't want to start at a 1 and like work their way back up the hill. That's exhausting. That seems overwhelming and exhausting. How could I ever like open up to someone like this? How could I go through those steps? I just want to be where I was with somebody in terms of intimacy. And so I think she's diving headfirst into these intense relationships. First with Youngblood, excuse me, who seems like a really, really intense person, like super ADD, super all over the place. Just like, can you imagine just watching a movie with him? Just like laying on the couch, watching 6 episodes of 90 Day Fiance? I can't. He'd be bouncing all over the walls, putting on all your makeup. So much. And now she's going into a relationship that could be like kind of a trauma bonding thing with Evan because he might be the broken bird after his relationship with Emma Peters. Keep in mind, he's also an actor, and actors are crazy. They're neurotic, high ego needs. There's just a lot. It's like, just date an investment banker for like 6 months, just kind of like as a palate cleanser. If you see a powder blue button-up Brooks Brothers shirt, that's the guy you go home with, Halsey. That's my prescription for you. Go to Wall Street, Go to the Palm Steakhouse, go to Stone Street, and you snipe them off. Boo, boo, boo. Connor, Tucker, Matt, Jane, boo, 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 boo. The plainer, the better. That's what you need. Sometimes that's what we all need. A mashed potatoes version of a man. So like I said, sit with yourself and see really where you're at. Take an inventory. Aside from what your friends might be telling, get back out there. You're over it. Do you not hate it when people are like, you're over it? Oh my God, you're like so over it. Like, he cheated. It's over. You're over it. And it invalidates you, because then if you aren't over it, you feel stupid. And that impedes the healing process, because what you start to do is lie to yourself and deny what's actually happening. And you press down what the psyche is trying to tell you, because I'm over it. I'm supposed to be over it. And you're not. And it's okay. Your lifespan of pain is valid. But it's only valid in that you're trying to do something to ameliorate it. If you are inhabiting that lifespan of pain in terms of a victim mentality, and this has now become your galvanizing personality trait, you're the girl who got cheated on and dumped. And nobody cares. It doesn't mean that much to anybody else. No one's here for it after like about 6 months. So use this time to get your head right. Take an inventory of who you are, what you're bringing to the table, and most importantly, what you've learned from that last relationship and what you truly, truly need. And then you can avoid Halsey level mistakes. That being said, I hope her and Gerald get back together. I'm not into this Victoria's Secret model he's dating. She's like vague with no face. I don't know. I'm not into it. If you can't be with Halsey, you should be with me. Tell me how you guys move on from a relationship. Like, do you have like this time limit? Like, you grieve for 3 weeks and then it's back out there? Are you on Tinder the day after you get dumped? Tell me what to do. Like, literally from my own life, please tell me what to do. All right, I love you guys. Talk to you again soon. Please keep tuning along for Evil Week. And like I said, follow me on Instagram where I let you vote on the next video topic, and follow my new podcast, Girl on Top, out every Wednesday.